Hello YouTubers, welcome to another episode. Just finished a lovely 10 minutes on the rowing machine, keeping the body moving, getting a little bit of sweat on before we talk about 2K strategies for the 2K row, the gold standard for testing in the rowing community worldwide. So I'm going to go over a few strategies that I've learned from my experience of doing 2Ks over time, from about 650, 645 all the way down to 549 and hopefully beyond. But gonna recover a little bit, get a little bit of a shower, get some food, because remember, food is fuel, and let's get on to some strategies for a 2K. Oh yeah!
Okay, we've made it back to drawing time to demonstrate the strategies that you can use in your 2K, and I'm going to go over the experiences that I've used throughout this year to hopefully help the Yam Squad in their quest for a faster 2K. So this year I have completed 8 2-kilometer pieces. 8 2,000 meter rows. And what that can really do is really give great experience in the 2K itself. So for each of these 2Ks, there's quite a varying amount of time spent in each one. So the first 2K of the season was a 55.8. That's a 5:55.8. So I was thinking, okay, the season's off to a good start. Then the next 2K, we ended up at a 6:08, and that wasn't a good day. I remember that day and was thinking, what's going on here? And then from there, we went on to the sort of trials, the first part of trials, and I ended up with a 5:53.9 in trials. And so I was thinking, okay, I went from this one to this one, I've done quite well. Then from there, I've went on to do the next 2K, which was more of a prep 2K, and I did a 56. I remember that one. That one was when we did part of the Road Royalty series, and then we come over here, and then ended up with a 5:54. And then from there, went from 5:54, then we went to Paris. It was a 5:52.6. That was Paris. And then from 5:52.6, there's one more 2K in between my PB 2K, which was a 5:59, which was a low rate 2K. And then from that 5:59, I went 5:49, which ended up being, or is currently, my PB. So quite a drastic amount of change between sort of, so 6:08 being my slowest and 5:49 being my fastest. So overall, 19 seconds of a difference between my fastest and slowest of the season. This one, I had a tooth infection and it wasn't fantastic. And a couple of these pieces, I learned some quite valuable lessons that hopefully I'll share with you, the Yam Squad, today for your 2K strategy. But I really recommend, so I've done 8 this year, or 8 this season so far, and that is quite a lot. A lot of people say you don't do too many, but I really think doing a 2K, it doesn't have to be super flat out, but doing a 2K itself can really be a great experience for you, so that when it does come to getting that PB, you know exactly, or at least close to, what you're feeling like. So to get the strategy down for you, you basically want to be able to know and get the experience by doing 2Ks. Okay, with all of the 2Ks I've done this year, I've really narrowed down the strategies that you can use for your 2K into 4 separate categories. So you have 1, which is the positive split. You have 2, which is the negative split. You have number 3, which is the fly and die. You have 4, which is the even split. So there's 4 different strategies that you can take, and I'm going to be talking about each one and which one I think may work best for you. So positive splitting, that means when, we'll set out our 2Ks here. This is the 2K distance, even though they may look different lengths. So the positive split, you start off pretty fast. You start off up here pretty fast, but you generally just slow down as it comes towards the end of the 2K. The negative split is when you start off pretty slow, but you end up speeding up throughout the 2K and finishing off with very strong finish. With the fly and die, starts off similar to the positive split, starts off pretty quick. And so then you start up here, but instead of a gradual drop down in speed, you end up holding that split there. Maybe you might be lucky and get to the 1K, but eventually at some stage, that pace, this one here, this pace is unsustainable and you have a drastic drop. And it's a kind of fight till the finish here. So it might be a little bit up, a little bit down, but you never really get it back. You spent all of the yam in that first part before you blow up and just crawl home to the end of the 2K. Then you have the even split. So you might start off around here and then just have slow, gradual speed changes and finishing there. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, the 4 different strategies that you can take, and obviously you can combine a few of these, but I'm really going to just say the fly and die, I think, is not ideal straight away. So we'll eliminate one of those, so we're left with the positive, negative, and even split. And these are 3 viable strategies that you could use in your 2K. I think the even split is one of the hardest 2K strategies to use. The reason is because you start off at a pretty quick split, but you know that that split isn't going to change, so it has to start pretty fast. The benefit of the even split is you get somewhere close to the end of the 2K, and if all going well, you're thinking, well, I've reached this point here and I don't have to sprint. All I have to do is hold the pace and I'm good to go. That is where the differences with the positive and negative split come in. The negative split, you might do really well. You're feeling pretty much really good through the 1K. You go through the 1K feeling like I'm untouchable because really you've not spent too much yam yet. But you get to the last part, that last 1K, the pressure is building for you to really increase the split so that you can finish on a score that you're happy with. So it's really depending on your ability to sprint in this last portion of the 2K. The positive split is a difficult one to sort of really get right because you start off pretty quick and there's a very fine line between the positive split and the fly and die. A positive split is basically the same as the fly and die, but instead of this drastic drop in split, it is a push down and just a gradual climb down to a slower split. And that slower split, it may only be a difference, so say maybe 4 or 5 splits, but it is quite a lot. Whereas a negative split, there might be the same difference, but generally with a negative split, I see higher of maybe a 10 to 15 split difference between those two at the sort of end of the 2K rather than the start. Whereas the positive split, you generally don't see too much variance. It's almost a combination, like I said, of the fly and die, but then a little bit of the even split as well. I really only see the positive split 2K strategies taken by people who have done many 2Ks and know very close to what their capability is, so that they don't start the 2K and then end up flying and dying, but they do start and get the most out of themselves here and almost just hold on to what they've made in that first portion of the race towards the end. So you're really, it's again similar to the even split. When you get to this portion of the 2K, yes, you might have to push that little bit harder because you've spent a lot of energy here, but you still don't have to really sprint like you would in, say, the negative split. So it also depends what kind of athlete you are. Are you a power athlete or are you more of an endurance athlete? Rowing itself is a combination of the two, but we all lie on a scale of power or endurance somewhere. I would say I'm more, so they say that's halfway, I would say I'm more on the power side. So I'm about here, but you might be here on more to the endurance side or here more to the power side. And that's kind of where I think, depending on which side you're on, is which strategy you end up taking. So I would say the more endurance athletes, the people who can really deal with that lactic acid really well, push more into sort of even to positive. But the more power side, it's sort of more even to negative. I think ideally we all want to have that even 2K. But like I said, that's really only when you really zone in on what you can do as an athlete and what you can do as a 2K monster machine. So once you've done enough 2Ks, you start to learn, okay, if my PB is say 630, I can hold a 630 pace the whole way through, and you know how that feels versus doing, say, I start off at a 640 pace and then wind in to say a 610 pace and end up around at 630. But, and that was with the negative split, but say with the positive split, you start at say a 620 pace and slow down to maybe a 635 pace. And so there's the differences between all four. But what I would really recommend for you is, like I said, do some 2Ks, do 2K rows. And I think a lot of people get really nervous about 2Ks, and that's why I really recommend people do some 2Ks. It doesn't have to be flat out, it doesn't have to be full yam, but it can really help just getting the body used to it, getting the mind, so you get your body used to the 2K, you get your mind used to the 2K. You get both of these together and you end up with a faster 2K. And when you go through a 2K, there's so many different things that you can end up feeling or thinking, and the more 2Ks you do, the more times you run into those same thoughts and know how to deal with them. And that's why I really recommend doing more 2K rows. And like I said, they don't have to be flat out. It's more just, if they can be hard, you run through the thought process, you can visualize, you can really go through the whole thing and think, okay, when it is test day, I can do as much yam as I can and get the best score and hopefully get a PB. So, hopefully that makes sense. The 4 strategies of the positive, negative, fly and die, and even approach. Let me know in the comments below what approach you like to take. I know there are people out there that love the fly and die approach, but really, is it a fly and die approach, or is it more of a positive, negative, or even split approach? All of them are very difficult. We all know that the 2K is absolutely heinous, but when you can get the best out of yourself, there's something about that just feels awesome when you get the best out of yourself and get that time, get that PB or that PR. But that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. My little bit of drawing here. Like I said, trying to get experience so that you can up your 2K game, up your experience, and hopefully smash that PB. And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will see you tomorrow in the next episode of the vlogs. Oh yeah!